Announcing the commencement of the first purge.
I want you to change the world, and don't think that this is going to happen peacefully or you can do it alone. We need to kill the rich. You get out there, you use your weapons, and you rip Washington apart. You hunt down the billionaires, the bank bosses, the CEOs, the scumbags, and the liars, the governors, the lobbyists, the senators, because they're all the same, and you hang them.
Just remember all the good the purge does.
Good morning, everyone. It's May 19th, 2020. I'm Eric. How's everyone doing this morning? You're going to want to stick around to the end of this video because I have a couple of shocking things for the end. One of the shocking things is what a whistleblower from GlaxoSmithKline said about the coronavirus vaccine. And another shocking thing is foreknowledge of what was going to happen. I have proof that they knew a full year in advance. So, stick around to the end because you're not going to want to miss it. But for now, we're going to go over here to where's it at? Right here. An in-depth look at American propaganda, Operation Mockingbird, and mind control. Yep. Because these things are being utilized to keep you enslaved. Even though most Americans now realize that the mainstream media lies to them and uses propaganda to push the enslavement narrative of the ruling class, most still consume it. I do watch mainstream media, so I know what they're saying, but I do not believe what they tell me 99% of the time. Many others still know things aren't right, but don't use the critical thinking skills necessary to ever be free from their mental chains. Because we've seen so much ridiculous agenda pushing in the past few months, let's take a look at all of this propaganda, fear-mongering, and mind control brought to us by the mainstream media and the CIA. Denial is the worst thing we can engage upon as this situation is unfolding. And bottom line, no rose-colored glasses expectation is there will be no quick recovery, and there is a high probability that we'll have to endure severe austerity for years, as the media engages in a strategy of psychological operations on Americans. We all know the elitists who want to rule the world need us in a state of panic and fear in order for us to be willing to subjugate ourselves. That right there is a powerful tool that they've been using for decades with the compliance and assistance of the mainstream media. The mainstream news media across the board, all of them, even Fox News, seem to be clearly under the control of an elite group of people, puppet masters in power at levels above puppet governments in place, who are providing the narratives for media which arguably are being employed to control the behavior of Americans using proven mind control methods based in well-designed propaganda that is broadly distributed to develop a herd mentality. There should be no illusion. The cops are willing or willingly enforcing tyranny, while the mainstream media, at the commands of the ruling class and their puppet masters above them, continue to panic the public into accepting the most horrible of all outcomes. Yet, even though this is well known, they are still attempting to label people who state the obvious conspiracy theorists. If you even remotely think that mainstream media is not propaganda designed to alter your behavior and perception, check this out. Yes, please do. Check it out.
Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility
is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
We are concerned plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous.
Need I say more? I mean, they repeated exactly the same thing across all media on that day. Is there any question as to the validity of mainstream media? There shouldn't be. This has become a grand war for the power of your mind. If the elitists control and enslave your mind, there is no need to control or enslave your body. You'll be obedient and do what you're told without fighting back, and you will even tattle to the masters when other slaves refuse to comply any longer. This is our path unless we change it right now. Operation Mockingbird isn't a secret, but it is something that mainstream media doesn't want you to focus on or even know about. Operation Mockingbird is a large-scale mind control program of the United States Central Intelligence Agency that began in the late 1940s. The CIA manipulated the news media for propaganda purposes in order to make sure the American public would willingly accept their slavery when the time came. It funded student and cultural organizations and magazines as front organizations, and it has largely been successful. Americans, for the most part, believe everything they are told as long as the media tells them, and they look down on those who ask questions or show evidence that the official narrative makes little or no sense. You know, like I did with the Parkland shooting. You remember that? All my longtime subscribers? Damn good video, but it got banned pretty quickly because I showed all the inconsistencies in the narrative. So, it's no wonder my channel keeps getting banned. And by the way, I probably can't put this one up on YouTube. If you haven't watched the documentary Out of the Shadows, I highly recommend that you do so. Don't let them rule you. Don't let them own you. You own yourself. Always have. No other human being, whether they call themselves government or a gang, has any right to your life or the fruits of your labor. Wake up and stop acting like a slave when being free is your birthright. It is your birthright. And this has been going on, as they said, since the 1940s. And all these corporations, all these different non-governmental agencies, they're all involved and have been since their creations. And then we are about to experience a major global food crisis caused by that very same propaganda and slave mentality. Global food crisis caused by fear, tyranny, and meat prices soar. If you've been able to find meat in your local grocery store, you've likely noticed that the price has gone up. Man, have I ever. Thanks to the tyrannical government overreach of every governor and lawmaker in this country, this trend of rising food prices is going to continue. And this is not taking into account hyperinflation due to Federal Reserve's money printing scheme to fight the pandemic. What they are really trying to do is crash the dollar and bring in a one world currency. You're going to be fucking shocked, I tell you, by what is presented at the end. So, you're not going to believe it. Once again, when it comes to this topic, the mainstream media is flat out lying. The Wall Street Journal even said the soaring prices and rotting crops were triggered by the coronavirus. Remember, it wasn't the virus that crashed the economy, it was the people who obeyed the government's commands that did. It's time to take responsibility, and if you complied with tyranny, you helped cause this. If you went quietly along with every edict and dictate of the governor of your state and the draconian lockdowns and demands to close your business and kill your livelihood, you shoulder some of the blame. The truth hurts, but there it is. Not far into the Wall Street Journal's piece, they admit that it was the elitist and ruling classes of the globe that have caused this problem. This comes from the Wall Street Journal. Yet a cascade of protectionist restrictions, transport disruptions, and processing breakdowns has dislocated the global food supply and put the planet's most vulnerable regions in particular peril. Now think about what's going to happen in Africa this year. And it's not only going to happen in Africa, but I think they'll probably get the worst of the food shortage. Probably. So what about the food shortages and the global food crisis? Third world countries that lack adequate fiat currency will be hit the hardest. However, don't think the U.S. will be unscathed. Even if you can get food, it's going to cost you. And we warned about this last year before the coronavirus infected the first person, as did I. Remember? Well, we've been worrying about this since at least 2017, if not before then. I'm pretty sure we did. So, back then it looked like the trade war with China would have been the main culprit. But any government overreach can destroy food supply chains. Now, hyperinflation and tyranny are the biggest obstacles to overcome. Almost 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and now because they complied with tyrannical commands to destroy their own livelihoods, many are unemployed. Overall, the price of groceries grew 2.6%, including seasonal adjustments in April. That was the biggest increase from one month to the next since 1974, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which are when these numbers come out in May, expect them to jump again. One of the best things you can do right now to prepare is to start a garden. And I've already done this. I do really strongly suggest that you do the same, because I have a feeling that things are going to get really, really, really bad. Okay? I refer you to my video, the what was it? The ruling class. Oh yeah, the ruling class threatens peasants. So buy seeds and start planting now. If you cannot grow a garden, consider getting the items below to help prepare your food supply for what could be a dark winter the elites or ruling class seem to want to force upon us. And I'm not going to go through the things that they suggest, because you already know what you need. You already know. Now, another way you should be preparing is mentally. You should understand that you're going to witness people dying. You're going to witness people starving. And they're going to make sure that this is all over mainstream media. You know, to further their agenda of fear. So, another great way to prepare is to enhance your critical thinking skills. Don't allow the media to dictate what you fear and how you live your life any longer. Break free from your chains and start living your life on your own terms, not at the whims of the political control freak overlords that demand your enslavement. And one of the ways of being mentally prepared is to shed your fear of death. And when you thought it couldn't get any worse as far as what's been going on, the sun is entering solar minimum and age of global cooling. So much for that global warming narrative that they've been pushing forever. The ice melting and coastal cities and islands being flooded. The evidence suggests that our sun is entering a phase called solar minimum. That means the activity of the surface of the sun will be low and cause a cooling of the earth. But NASA says, don't worry. Redirect your attention to the virus and remain in panic mode. And on top of the solar minimum, we have these assholes injecting our atmosphere with fine particulates to block out the sun. So, there hasn't been any sunspots for 100 days, which is the best evidence that we have the sun is entering its solar minimum. There has been talk on social media about an impending ice age, but NASA scientists have said we should not be overly worried. The control freaks in power need you to focus on the fear over a virus to complete their tyrannical takeover, so they don't want you prepared for what could come during the solar minimum, like a lack of food supply. The lack of sunspots show that the sun is entering a period of low activity. This is a sign that solar minimum is underway, reads spaceweather.com, and that is, what's the Suspicious Observers website. So, I would check them out, alright? So, we've had, over the past 5 years, we've had extreme flooding, and many of our agricultural areas. Our grain reserves were destroyed by this flooding. And not to mention all the toxins and shit that these floods brought with them. Let's see here. Yeah. All right. So, here's the first shocking piece of information that I want to share with you. If my computer cooperates, that is. Let's see. No, you're not. There we are. This is H.R. 748, or the CARES Act. You remember that? Well, if you look right here at the date that it was introduced, it was introduced on 1/24/19, a full year before any of this began. A full year. And if that wasn't shocking enough, well, I have prepared a 10-minute video that David Knight threw up on his live show, that it's a report from a whistleblower from GlaxoSmithKline. You definitely want to watch this. And before I played this clip for you, I'm going to go ahead and tell everyone goodbye, and until next time, kill the state and live free.
Company that has told him about some very troubling things that they found in some of these vaccines. Let's roll that clip, video clip 6.
Hello, everybody. I'm here today to give you some more information about who's involved in the vaccine trials and the production of the vaccine, and some information from an alleged GSK insider who believes that certain antigens are going to appear in the vaccine that are going to be harmful to people. And we'll get into that. But first, I just want to kind of look at who is running the vaccine trial. And Dr. Andrew Preston spoke on television the other night. And he's from the Department of Biology and Biochemistry at the Milner Centre for Evolution at Bath University. And just looking at the connections between people and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we found out that he had been given a £28 million grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The people that he worked with, and I'll just quickly run through this. So his collaborators, and this is all on his page at Bath University, is Dr. Eric Harville from Penn State University. He got a £10 million grant from Bill and Melinda. Dr. Ernest from the University of Baltimore in Maryland, they're a massive university, and so the people that he works with there got £7 million. 2.9 of that came from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The rest came from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases in America, which is run by Anthony Fauci, who is the Chris Whitty of America. There's also a Dr. Caroline Cole. She got 14.5 million. He works with her. Then you've got people who are continually funded. Dr. Philippe Dahoty and Philippe Goffin. They regularly receive support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So that's who he works with, both here in the UK and in America, Dr. Andrew Preston, and he also works with GSK Biologicals. And they produce, basically, they've got the biggest vaccine production factory in the world, in Wavre, in Belgium, and they produce 2 million doses of over 30 vaccines every single day. Okay. So that's Dr. Andrew Preston. He has clearly got links, major links, with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and we've discussed how they've infiltrated the vaccine network. Now we're talking about how they're interfering and trying to manipulate the human trials and delivering these vaccines. So our insider has sent us information, essentially. It claims that the vaccine has already been made and it contains various antigens and a concoction of chemicals, basically, some of which he has delivered to us. So this is what's going to be in there, we believe. So this is not necessarily, I mean, we're 1 foot in this and 1 foot out, but I'm going to go through this, I'm going to present it as though it's the truth, because I believe it is. So, there's going to be an anti-HCG antigen. Now, this is HCG is something for causing sterility in women, and it is also combined with HCG and OLH and 37 amino acid carboxy terminal peptides, known as CTP, are also in there. The principle of anti-HCG vaccine is to introduce antibodies which can bind to HCG and render it biologically inactive. Out of the 63 women they tested with this HCG, 61 of them became infertile. So out of 63 women they tested, GSK tested with this antigen, this concoction of chemicals, 61 became infertile. And they believe that's what's in the vaccine. There's also, so that's the female one. The male, what's going to appear in the male vaccines, we believe, is called GnRH, and it results in decreased testicular size. So your testicles are going to shrink. Drop of testosterone levels, and marked atrophy of the prostate. This is a sperm-specific mitochondrial antigen. And so what that does is this chemical attacks the sperm, kills its mitochondrial DNA. So it has nothing to live with. So it will still be alive, it will still be swimming around, but when it goes to the egg, it will have nothing to deliver into that. Its mitochondrial DNA will be damaged. It will be dead. And they tested this on baboons. It's a specific, sperm-specific mitochondrial antigen produced an antibody response in baboons and reduced fertility in the females. So that basically means that when these male baboons had sex with female baboons, simply by delivering their sperm into them, they made the females infertile. So if this also is in there, in these vaccines, then men who have sex with unvaccinated women will make them infertile, and everyone else will be infertile, will become infertile. Now, apparently, this isn't going to be seen in the population for 7 to 10 years. Then there will be an explosion of infertility. And what will happen, as I've been told, is that people will die, and people will continue dying, but no one is going to be reborn, thus reducing the population of the United Kingdom massively, pretty much within a few years. And if this is their intention around the rest of the world, then you're looking at a global population reduction just with these anti-fertility ingredients, which they believe is going to appear in the vaccine. So, how do we check this? Well, what I've decided to do is contact independent laboratories. We are going to pay for random testing of the vaccines to see what appears in there. There's also going to be a cluster of cancer chemical agents in there as well, which will cause cancers, apparently, and I'm going to get more details about those later. So we're going to test independently the vaccine to see what's in it, see if it's safe for people to use on the surface, and I think we're going to set up a board of scientists who are not connected to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or GSK. We know they're out there because we've been contacted by them. So we're going to start doing that, and what we need for you to do is to support us in that endeavour. So if you go to www.govote